In this video, I want to review creating 3 viewports for your tiny house poster. Up in the top, between the isometric framing model and the elevations, we're going to have a small viewport that's going to show the bathroom details. Over here to the left of the architectural rendering, we're going to have a viewport that shows the backyard, which we have as saved view 2. And down in this spot right here, we want to put a small viewport that's going to show the background and the house to a much smaller scale. So I just wanted to review with you how to create those 3 viewports. Let's get started with the backyard viewport. I'm going to first check the viewport locations page from Canvas. And I see that the backyard viewport is saved view 2, and I have the center location of that viewport right here. And that one's going to be to the scale 3/16 of an inch equals a foot when I make that viewport. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in to my saved view 2. And all I'm going to do, I have the backyard scene right here. All I'm going to do is draw in that crop tool that I'll be using. Now I've already got my attributes palette set up here to 0.35 line thickness and blueprint blue in the classic Vectorworks colors. It has to be that blueprint blue for this document. And all I'm going to do is set the size of that viewport crop to 44 feet by 34 feet. And I can move that around wherever I'd like to position that to show the backyard of my house. I'm going to try and include the pool, but we want to definitely include the entire house in this scene. So that's what I'm going to use for my crop right there. Now I'm pretty lucky with this background. This one happens to work for viewport 1 and viewport 2, but I can put a totally different background on this after I make the viewport. I'm going to go ahead and choose View, Create Viewport. I want to use the selected object as my viewport's crop. Now here's where I'm going to change the scale from 1/4 inch equals a foot to 3/16 of an inch equals a foot. I can choose which layers are going to be included, and these are the layers. I actually don't want the frame layer, but I want design layer 1, my ceilings, and my roof layer. You might not have a ceilings layer, and that's okay. I could change the background right here to whatever background I'd like it to be. I'm going to leave this one for now, but I can change it later in the object info palette if I want to. When I click OK, it automatically creates that viewport right there. Now what I'm going to do is just check the location of that one again. The backyard saved view 2, the viewport location for the center point is -11 and 0. So let's choose the center point up here for my viewport location. -11, 0. And there it is, it moved over here. Now what I can do is just select that viewport and update it. It'll show us what that's going to look like when it's all rendered. And there it is. That's my backyard viewport. All I need to do is use 12-point aerial to add in the drawing label and scale right here for that viewport. Let's go ahead and let's make the bathroom viewport right now. When I check my paper here for my bathroom viewport, it gives me the location of it right here. There's a note about the bathroom viewport right up here. The bathroom viewport's 1/4 inch equals a foot, so I'm going to be leaving that scale set the same way as my layer scale, my design layer. We'll use a 17-foot by 25-foot rectangle for the viewport crop. And that'll make a viewport that's 4 1/4 by 6 1/4 inches. So 17 feet by 25 feet. I'm going to go back into my drawing, and I'm going to go to design layer 1. And what I'm going to do for this one is turn the roof off, ceilings off, frame off. And I'm going to use the flyover tool to get an angle where I can see the bathroom details. Try and get most of the fixtures in there. Now I'm going to draw in my rectangle. I believe it was 17 feet wide. 25 feet high. And again, I can move that rectangle around wherever I need it to be. It's actually pretty close to where I want it to be right now. And that's going to be my bathroom viewport. So I have that rectangle where I want it. I have the angle how I want it to look. I'll just try to adjust it to get a little more of the sink and the medicine cabinet in there. Again, I'll just go to View, Create Viewport. I'm going to use the crop tool. I'm going to leave this one set to the 1/4 inch equals a foot scale. I'm going to click OK. Created that viewport right there. The location was -4 1/8, 8. Let's set the center point location, -4 1/8. And there's the bathroom viewport, right where it needs to go. Again, I can update that, see what it's going to look like when it's all finished up. Any of these viewports with the red around, remember they need to be updated. We can do them all at once by just choosing View, Update All Viewports. But there's my bathroom viewport. Again, I just need to add the drawing label and the scale to that one. Let's do this last viewport right down here. That's going to be the background viewport. We have the building or the viewport location right there. There's a note up here about the background viewport. It says that viewport's going to be to the scale of a 1/16 of an inch equals a foot. So the house is going to look really small, but we'll be able to see everything in the background if we do that. Use an 80-foot by 64-foot rectangle for the viewport crop to make a 5-inch by 4-inch viewport. Those numbers were just 5 times 16 equals 80, 4 times 16 equals 64. Is how you figure out those numbers. But I'm going to draw the 80-foot by 64-inch or 64-foot viewport right now. So I'm going to go back into Design Layer 1. I'm going to go to Save View 1. For this one, I'm just going to turn off the frame layer. I'm going to draw in my viewport, 80 feet by 64 feet. You can see how big that viewport looks on here, but remember we're making this to a much smaller scale. I can move this around again to where I want it. Try and get my Mustang in there. Again, we want to make sure that we show the entire house with this viewport. And get a little of the road, a little of the driveway, and that's how I'm going to make this viewport. Now all I'm going to do is the same thing I've been doing, View, Create Viewport. This one we said we're going to make to a scale of a 1/16 of an inch equals a foot. 1/16 inch equals a foot. I'll click OK. Made my real small 5-inch by 4-inch viewport there. the location of that background viewport 4 1/8, -6 and 13/16. Put my viewport right where I need it to be. Again, I just need to add the label when I go to view, update all viewports. They'll all update. I'm going to add these labels in on these 3 viewports. I'll actually get rid of the label that was on my design layer for this one. Since this is a different scale, it makes the text look a lot smaller. So I'll add in the 12-point Arial labels on all these right here on the sheet layer. Once all these viewports update, my poster is pretty much done. Remember, you can create these viewports at any point in the project process. I can go back still and add all my siding materials to my elevations up here. The viewport will just update. Same thing with the bathroom. If I had some bathroom details I still needed to finish or add, I could do that. The viewport's going to update. What I'd like you to do is get all of these viewports created. I still have some work to do on my elevations. I still have work to do on these exterior wall framing plans. I'm going to be going over that with you. But that's how we get these other 3 viewports added onto your poster. Let's get that taken care of right away.